Oh, Dad, you are an obstinate, blinkered, anal, obstreperous control freak.
That's nice. Must be my birthday.
Hello!
I know we don't get to see each other as much as we would like to, but when we do, I gotta say it's sort of wonderful.
To friendship.
To friendship.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I'm your host Matthew Pejkovic and this is episode number 230. Releasing in Australian cinemas on the 8th of August is Palm Beach, a comedic drama set during a 3-day birthday celebration which food, drink, laughs, jealousy and secrets are all on the menu. Featuring an all-star cast that includes Brian Brown, Sam Neill and Greta Skarkey, Palm Beach is a charming and moving film, and I'm glad to say the film's co-writer and director, Rachel Ward, joins me today on the podcast. Rachel, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure, Matt. What happens if you don't like the film?
Well, if I don't like the film, I lie, and I just go ahead with it.
Good. Well, thank you for that. I like your chosen words.
Oh, thank you very much. I read in the interview with your star and husband, Brian Brown, that the movie was somewhat influenced by a Christmas party in Wales, and I was just curious, how does that gathering inspire the beginnings of the film that would become Palm Beach?
Yes, they did inspire it. It was a Christmas holiday, and like with many people, Christmas carries a lot of expectation. Birthdays, and of course the higher the expectations, the bigger the implosion when it sort of all goes wrong. And a lot of these people were, on the surface successful together, seemingly untroubled souls, but when it came down to it, everybody was sort of dealing with the men particularly were dealing with an existential crisis of really moving into a sort of a stage of life where they were either selling their business, or they'd been retrenched, or they were having marital issues or kid issues, and alcoholic problems. Brian himself was dealing with an anxiety that had sort of that he was sort of for a few years back then. So he walked away and went, I really think there's a universal theme here, and I want to explore it in a film. And so then we rallied Joanna Murray-Smith, who is, the sort of, who has already proved herself so well sorts of dramas. And on we went. This was about 4 years ago, and it's sort of, and here we are.
When you and Joanna are writing this screenplay, do you write your characters with actors in mind to play them?
No, not really. Have been cast. Yes, maybe there's a bit of fiddling, fine, fine drawing, but no, not really. You sort of, a lot of the screenplays I've written have been adaptations, so your characters are already, and yeah, with this one, with the screenplay, with this one, Joanna really came up with the whole structure of the piece, and there were a lot of themes that we talked about, and we're bringing to the whole theme about the boy. And I don't want to give anything away, but that drama was inspired by a family, my own family drama. So there was a lot of things that we brought to it, but basically Joanna wrote that, and then I really came on board as the visual eye, and sort of really really visualizing those scenes and making those scenes work for the screen rather than as a play.
From the outset, these characters, you get a feeling they know each other, family, friends, longtime friends, and I think a lot of that comes from the obvious camaraderie between your cast, and a lot of your cast have been in movies together previously. Does that help very much in making sure that these characters already feel very fleshed out on a word go?
I don't know. I wouldn't underestimate their performance or the screenplay by just saying that that's the way they always carry on, that they had that familiarity. I think, they're not exactly playing themselves, and but there wasn't really very little that was improvised. It was very much that sort of banter between the characters were very much honed before we even set foot on the set. So it's not just a question of putting a lot of actors together who know each other very well and hey presto. It's quite an intricate and work-intensive process to get the screenplay to that point.
So you like to rehearse especially this film, rehearse scenes with that cast before you began shooting?
We did have rehearsals, yes. I mean, I'm not a big one on over-rehearsing. Mm-hmm. I like the moments to be the moments that the screenplay inflames to be on screen. I don't want them to have that moment. Sometimes you're recreating it. If you've already experienced that moment in a rehearsal, recreating what has already happened in the rehearsal room rather than actually catching it on film. And so I'm reluctant to have a full-blown performance. I think that people need to be very secure in their characters and secure in their lines, and then let whatever's going to catch fire on film.
A big part of this film is the location, and the film's title, Palm Beach, gives that away. I'm curious about the house, though. I mean, the house itself very much feels like a character. It's a setting for a lot of the things that happen with these characters in the film. Where did you find that house? Did you know of that house beforehand? How did you come across finding that certain location for your film?
The Palm Beach. We chose Palm Beach because obviously we needed. It's an aspirational film. The irony of basically setting the story in paradise, and basically these characters are imploding in paradise. So you scene where how good can it get? These people should really be having the best time of their lives, and of course, very often when you bring very old mates together, and in this case, that is at the rate of knots, and the irony of it being set in this sort of paradisical setting, adds to the of the film.
The characters that Sam Neill and Richard E. Grant play were a part of a fictional 70s band called the Pacific Sideburns. Who came up with the title for that band? Because that's just fantastic.
Oh, well, I did actually. You can go on Google and you can look down thousands of combinations of names and pages and pages of possible names for bands. And yeah, I guess I went through reams and reams. Pacific Sideburns just seemed like a good one for a sort of 70s band.
And they had a #1 hit called Fearless, and James Rain from Australian Crawl fame, he wrote that song. When it comes to getting James to write this song, how does that work? Do you just give him a overview of what the band is, what type of era it's setting, and just let him go and do what he does?
Yeah, yes and no. I sort of wanted to have a reggae beat to it, so that was that was something that I felt would work well to have the reggae feel. Obviously, we were imagining a band like the Crawl, probably before the Crawl. So, and although actually they would have been weren't they 80s more than the 70s? This band would probably have been in the 70s or very early 80s anyway. And yes, and it's sort of you to and fro a bit. I mean, it needed to double as the incontinence ad, so it needed to have dialogue that was appropriate for the back incontinence ad. So it had to have a bit of a double entendre with the words in the opening verse. So that was a combination of me and James and Joanna writing that. Yes, but basically then you go, James is the Australian Crawl is the flavour we wanted, and that's what we got.
My last question, Rachel. This film comes out 10 years on from your feature film debut as a director, Beautiful Kate. What do you take lessons from working on your first feature to your second?
Good question. I think a lot really these days because of streaming services basically taking over the way we view entertainment. Obviously, film, going to film, has a bit of a battle on its hand, and a lot of people are aren't going to cinemas. They're waiting to get their entertainment on their plasma screens in their living room. So there is definitely you can't waste the opportunity when you make a film. You need to make damn sure you have targeted who your audience is, and hopefully do everything you can to deliver to that audience. And really, when you go to the cinemas these days, a lot of it is for basically people 50 and over. Not the tent poles, obviously, not the big Hollywood tent pole movies. That are much younger. But I think people with kids are basically staying home and watching a lot of their entertainment on TV. So we were very much wanted to serve the audience that was going to the cinema. And yes, so hopefully they will find a lot to identify with. I mean, obviously we've got younger characters in the film as well, and certainly a lot of the people who have seen it get as much out of it as the older demographic. But we are definitely, it is definitely a story for the characters that are in there, the age group of Sam and Brian and Greta and Heather Mitchell and Richard Grant. They are they're the main characters of the story, and it's them that we are, it's their struggle that we are going on the journey with.
So for everyone out there listening, 8th of August, Palm Beach in Australian cinemas. It's got a fine cast, fine location, it's a fine movie. And Rachel Ward, I thank you very much for your time today, and congratulations with the movie.
Thank you so much, Matt.